Alrighty, paddy people. I've had an interesting last couple of days. I was going to put a video up, but I've decided not to. Involving, it showed one of the trucks working on the power lines. Last week, I'm talking right now, Thursday, 14th to the 10th. Last week, there was a hell of a lot of trucks going up and down, playing around with power lines. They seem to put a lot of earths in somehow. They're earthing 22,000 volt cables. Yeah, I'm not a high voltage linesman, so whatever. But I had the distinct sense that the time was a-coming. The time. And I was not wrong. Today's Thursday, it would have been Tuesday about lunchtime, I seen a guy unannounced in my corner paddock with the big long, the fiberglass tape, the big one you reel up with the handle on the side. He had that out and he's sitting there belting in all these stakes, and I thought, whoa, she's finally happening. Yesterday I got a phone call to have a little meeting with someone this morning. And they said, when can we meet? And I said, 10 o'clock this morning. And that seemed pretty good to them. And I knew what it was going to be about. Because they said where they were from. And they were from the Power Corporation. So, we had a little meeting and we talked about how he's going to integrate the sheep fencing into the other fencing. And how I wanted to be done. And he said, we can get our main tennis court style fencing that we're going to have, and then we can put another rural fence around the outside. And I said, no, don't worry about it. The sheep ain't going to get through your fencing, just put it right up. And he said, I'll put some straining posts, which keeps the tension on. But he's got to put two, one from either side. But it's not him that does it. He's the one organising it all and checking everything out. But it's not all going to be done in 2 or 3 weeks. It involves a lot more subcontractors than I would have thought. They need somebody the civil guys who do the civil works, to dig a hole for underground cable, which may or may not be in a conduit. I suspect it might be in a conduit. They've got other guys that have got to put a separate pole up. There's one guy that does the main fencing around it. There's another guy who does rural fencing that then joins my sheep fence to that fence. I mean, it just goes on and on. You've got a culvert where there's like a big ditch in the side of the road, and there's a crown in the road. For those of you who don't know anything about road building, a lot of roads have a bit of a curvage to them to get water to flow off. Now, because we're out in a rural area and it's not suburbia, there's no stormwater drains. It's just like a big ditch in the side of the road. Some of these ditches might happen to have a little hole through the fence and divert into some of our dams, as we call them, but you might know them as water ponds for sheep drinking water. And but the long and short of it is, instead of just saying, if somebody needs to get to it, they can just jump over the ditch, they're actually going to put a concrete pipe and then fill it all with crushed rock, so they almost got like a perfect thing to walk across it, just to open this gate, which is a locked gate to go. And I'm like, my gosh, you're telling me you can't even jump over this ditch? No, they're going to put a concrete pipe in and a culvert, and they've marked all the points where that's going to go in, and they mark where the fence is going, and they mark where the main infrastructure is going, they mark where the power poles going, the extra power poles, so they need someone to come out and put that up. And then they've got to make sure it's not raining, and then they've got to make sure the wind's not blowing before they can connect all the wires on, blah, 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 blah. I thought the neighbours were getting one, apparently not. There's another one that goes further up, like about another half a mile away, I would say, that feeds into these roads surrounding here, from the main lines that come down from a main road that connects right through to another town. But right where that big one, they're going to put one there before it breaks off into these surrounding roads. And of course my one goes from here through to, I think I've showed it at times, there's a giant big quarry that was technically owned by a great uncle of mine before he got divorced. And that, that big quarry needs a fair bit of power for the water pumps and all the bullshit dealing with all the stuff going on down there. And so those cables go through the forest. And that's the trouble there, where these cables can touch in the wind and spark like hell because it's 22,000 volts. I believe it's 22,000. And this has been known to cause bushfires. And so as a part of a big bushfire inquiry that went for years back, from a day where 64 people got burned alive, then the decision has been made that we've got to do all these things to stop power lines from causing bushfires. So this shit goes right through the forest, and so they've got to put this in so that if it touches there, it'll spark a bit, but the unit that's going to be in the corner of my property will just bang shut down. And then they've got like a little computerized shit show, I believe. They've got a little antenna that runs off the cell phone system to tell them that the power has indeed shut down for that, and they've either got the ability to turn it on or at least know that it's gone out at the main quarry there. But that's really what it's about, is because high winds would cause these lines to touch, which would start throwing sparks, and it'd hit leaf litter, and then bang, you'd burn out whole towns. And this has all been found as a part of this big Royal Commission, as we like to call them, and this has been the decision made. This all happened like 5 years ago, 7 years ago, and they've been running around with the worst areas where there's a lot of cable going through forests into whole towns that are just entirely in the middle of forests, and they've been worried about that first, and now they're getting to this area. So yeah. So she ain't going to be finished in 2 or 3 weeks like I thought. She's 14th to the 10th, and he said, look, we're attempting to get it in before Christmas. We'll see. I might be getting the coin maybe early next year or something. We'll see how it all goes. But this is good. Finally, after a year of signing this contract and not knowing when it's going to start, we're getting underway. Things are happening. So I'm happy for him, and I'm also happy for the amount of money in my pocket. So anyway, that's the way it is, and this is so I told you I'm good at keeping secrets. I'm usually not, but I've kept this a secret quite a while, and